Can you see all of me walk into my... Okay, that's not what this is about. So, yeah, I'm reading Believing Stories by TypeWriterError. And, yeah. I kinda read it already, but I don't exactly remember how it was, so... Well, I don't know. Sometimes maybe I'll react to this and... whatever. Okay, let's go. Yeah, Believing Stories by TypeWriterError. The sun woke up before she did that day. She groaned, as her bloodshot eyes slowly opened to see a plain, hard floor. Her eyes blinked again, and her brow furrowed. She was far from her palace bedchamber. But how far? Where was she? Her legs felt odd, short for some reason, and somehow less warm. She looked down and quickly screamed. Her hooves, tail, all were gone, and instead she had skin covered by a set of hospital scrubs. Human. She instantly touched her face with her new hands as she trembled. Human. She was human. How could this have happened? Where was she? Where was she? Her muzzle was gone, her mane. She felt for the long hair, which should have replaced her beautiful wavy mane, but she felt just a short boy cut instead. Her feet were bare, and she could feel the cold. She looked at her hands and saw the nails were filed short. Human. No longer alicorn, no longer princess. Human. As she moved her arm, she felt something crinkle inside her shirt. She patted her skirt and felt the crinkle in her front pocket. She took out a letter. Okay. She took out a letter and sat up as she read. Dear Princess Celestia, today I learned that friendship is true only when you allow your friends to be themselves. Each pony is different and has something special to offer. I also learned to never take any pony's special talent for granted. You never know when you may need the help that can be found in the uncommon place or uncommon pony. Can be fun. Your faithful student, Twilight Sparkle. Twilight. Celestia shook as she hugged the paper to her chest. Tears crept in too easily from her shock and confusion. Tears crept in too easily from her shock and confusion. Twilight. Her faithful student who had turned into a treasured friend. Her brilliant student. Where was she? How was she going to get to her? What she would give to see her now. This had to be a dream. She wanted some pony to walk in to tell her to wake up. Luna! Where was Luna? The door to the sterile room she was in opened and two people walked in. One was a young nurse with light blue scrubs on. Her wild, curly, white blonde hair was tied back in a neat bun, and she wore a worried, compassionate look on her face. The second was a tall male doctor with a salt and pepper goatee. The doctor spoke first, as if coaxing a small child to give up a stolen treasure. Now, Celeste, you remember what we told you about the notes. Please give that to me, he asked, in a voice that was deep and resonant but seemed to have a familiar note of mischief in it. Celestia's eyes stared between the two as she clutched the paper. This was her one link that she knew she had to her home world. As the doctor cautiously approached her, she pushed herself away from him with her feet and free hand. Human hands. Human feet. His voice was too familiar. Should I give her a sedative? The nurse asked. No, that's not necessary. Besides, we don't know how it will react with her treatment. Discord! Celestia screamed at the doctor. Discord! What are you up to? How did you do this to me? Daddy? The nurse asked, scared. Honey, listen to me. Do not get nervous. That will only encourage her to act rashly. He cautioned the nurse before continuing. But we must be calm and reasonable, mustn't we, Celeste? He spoke without taking his eyes off of the trembling woman in front of him. He calmly extended his hands towards her. I won't give it to you. What are you going to do to me? Celestia asked, clenching her teeth. I will not do anything to hurt you, Celeste. I've been trying to help you for these past few years. Don't you remember that? He took another step towards her, and she backed up against the wall. He knelt next to her and tried to keep eye contact. What am I doing here? She asked, somewhat less certain of herself. You're sick, he said, not unkindly. You were brought here a few years ago. You're here now, aren't you? What? What do you mean I'm here? I shouldn't be here. I'm a queen of Equestria and I need to be there! Celeste, the doctor said. For some reason, when he looked at her, the queen felt a need to be aggressive, but cautious. Fear. Fear from chaos. She curled into a tight fetal position with the paper clenched in her left hand. My name is Princess Celestia, she demanded. Why were these tears coming? Your name is Celeste Merlot. Equestria isn't real. You've been mentally hiding in another world because you don't want to live in your own world. You've been living in a catatonic state except for when you would write letters to yourself. Like that one. He spoke with extreme patience and calm, almost hypnotically. Celestia squirmed. But Twilight wrote it to me. She's my... Celeste, look at the letter. That is your handwriting. Stop it! You're lying. Why have you brought me here, Discord? How did you free yourself from the statue? Who's this Discord you're talking about? Why would I ever want to harm you? I've been trying to help you. His voice never rose in anger. Something about the calmness appealed to Celestia in a way she did not want to admit it to herself. To accept his calmness would be to agree with him. She dared to break his gaze and looked at the crumbled paper in her hands. It wasn't a neat little scrawl that smelled of ash. Spike's letters always smelled of ash, despite never being burned when they arrived. The note was folded, The note was a folded, crumpled paper. The handwriting. It was in cursive, but was erratic. Not the smooth hand of her student, Twilight. No. Twilight had to be real. There was no way that she was... Yeah, I got to do this again. Not the smooth hand of her student, Twilight. No. Twilight had to be real. There was no way that she wasn't real. Her faithful student, Luna! Her sister Luna. Was the pain of being separated from her little sister for 1,000 years all imagined? She had to be real. The paper floated to the floor as she dropped it while covering her bloodshot eyes. How long would she be crying? She had to be the Queen of Equestria. Twilight and her friends, Luna. Her little sister. Luna had to be real, right? She wouldn't make that up, would she? The doctor picked up the paper and turned to leave with his daughter. They left the room with the crying woman inside. The last thing she heard them say was the girl speaking to her father. "Looks like the drugs are finally beginning to work." To which her father replied, "Yes. Thank you for your help. I wasn't sure if she would be here today. You might want to report back to your supervisor now, screwball." Well, and so concludes chapter 1 of Believing Stories. This is the first time I read something. And yeah, now for the editing and then for the uploading. So, well, I guess I'm gonna do chapter 2 to, I don't know, today. And maybe you'll get the whole story today. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So